Hey folks, we are back on the Firebirds dev server, this time taking a look at the F-15E Strike Eagle. And as a reminder, I've currently got a poll up on the channel to determine which of these aircraft I review first when the patch goes live, so you should check that out if you haven't already. This video is going to be a little shorter since the F-15 is something we already have in the game. It's kind of a known quantity. The flight performance and everything is going to be extremely similar to the F-15C that we've already seen. I'm just going to be trying to focus on showing you what's new and different in this vid and giving you the brief overview. It's going to be at 13.7 for air, 12.7 for ground, over on the right-hand side of the tech tree down in the bottom column. You can pause there if you want to take a longer look at the stat card. The systems it gets, full ballistics computer with the EEGS and everything, the decent ALR-56 radar warning receiver. Notably, this does still have helmet-mounted targeting for infrared missiles and its radar set, so that's going to be an advantage over the Su-34 in terms of comparable aircraft coming with this patch. Radar, AN/APG-70. Again, relatively similar for air-to-air modes in what you've seen to the other F-15s. However, the Strike Eagle is getting some ground targeting modes, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Let's take a look at its weapons. So for air-to-air, it's got all of the standard F-15 stuff that you're going to expect, AIM-9Ms and Ls, AIM-120s. For ground attack, this is where things really open up with this plane. You've got a pretty good selection of guided air-to-ground weapons. I mean, look at this. You've got paveways, you've got JDAMs, you've got the GBU-39s, which are the new toy we're going to be looking at, and you've got a couple different flavors of Mavericks. In addition, of course, to the Lantern targeting pod. So the guided air-to-ground weapons on this are going to absolutely be completely credible for close air support or ground attack out in regular air battles. So the real star of the show, kind of, with the Strike Eagle here, is going to be the GBU-39Bs. These are glide bombs with fairly good range, and they're satellite guided. So they're not going to track moving targets on the ground, but they do still have some good utility. I'm going to show you that in a minute. One thing to be aware of, you're looking at that quantity and saying, oh my god, 20 guided bombs, that's insane. Yeah, kind of, but the individual hitting power of these bombs is very small. If you look at like the TNT equivalent, it's only got 26 kilograms of TNT equivalent explosive mass. So the individual bombs are not going to hit very hard. You're going to need direct hits if you want to take out ground targets. So having 20 of them is not going to be some ridiculously unbalancing thing in close air support, you know, because people move around, right? Anyway, let me get this thing up into the air and show you a couple of the new toys. Okay, so we're up in the air in the F-15E Strike Eagle, and I've got a full load of the GBU-39s, and I took the Lantern targeting pod, because I want to show you kind of what these glide bombs are going to be all about. Now, again, they don't track moving targets, but you do have one kind of neat little trick up your sleeve. If you get up to altitude so that you're going to have the range, you can take these bombs and basically just sort of do this. Oh, we've got thermals, of course, with the Lantern pod. And just basically sort of dump them on everything you can see. And I'm double tapping these because the bombs themselves are individually not super strong. These light trucks will probably be one-shots. There. And we've just dumped our whole load of bombs on that huge cluster of ground targets down there. And I'm going to see if I can get in a position so we're a little bit closer when they impact. But the thing to know is that these glide bombs are slow. They are going to take forever to get down there when dropped from high altitude. So, you know, you've got really good range with these things. I could have dropped those from a lot farther away, and they still would have mostly landed on target. But the problem is, they're going to take like 2 minutes before they hit the target. So the utility for close air support is going to be really limited and situational. I want to prepare you for that, kind of like I did in the first segment there. So I'm going to kind of clip ahead to when we can check out these impacts and show you what's going on. So you can see there, I just took out that entire cluster of ground targets. That is really the use case for the GBU-39s, is just going in with them, dropping them on clusters of ground units. Now, if you're thinking about using them for close air support, again, they might have sort of a niche use case. If you drop a whole bunch of them in like a cluster pattern around like one of the cap points or something like that, and just sort of use the salvo of glide bombs as like a makeshift cluster bomb, like we'll watch as they impact in that general area there in a second. See, they're blasting all over the place. You know, you might be able to do stuff like that to get some reasonably accurate like cluster drops. But generally speaking, my first impression of the GBU-39s is that they're not going to be game-breaking. It's just going to be a fun new toy. Now, there is one other thing I want to show you with this. Okay, so we're out in another flight, and this is the other thing I want to show you. If we take a look at the radar modes, we can switch into a search ground moving target indication mode and a track while scan ground moving target indication mode. So we finally have some anti-ground radar on an American plane. That is long overdue, and we finally got it. Now, this is what I wanted to show you because it's ridiculous. Now, moving target indication is only going to target or be able to detect moving objects on the ground, okay? But the game's spaghetti code doesn't seem to distinguish between different methods of targeting. So it's letting me send these AMRAAMs down at that light tank on the ground. Now, it's the missiles aren't actually going to track the tank because their radar is not going to be able to detect a moving tank. However, the data link will still work. And as you can see, I dumped the whole salvo. I got a couple of hits, but didn't get a kill. So it's not going to be accurate. You're not going to be able to accurately target things on the ground using, a salvo of AMRAAMs and the ground track while scan MTI mode. But you can at least try and get stuff in the general direction, and maybe every now and then you'll get lucky and get a meme kill or something. So it technically works because of the game's spaghetti code, but it's not really going to be a reliable tactic to actually try and use effectively in combat. Anyway, my first impressions overall playing around with the F-15E, I think this is going to be sort of a good addition to top-tier American lineups. It's going to have the ability in air battles to do ground attack and air-to-air combat in the same sort of a loadout. In terms of close air support, I mean, this thing's going to be a frickin' beast. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can see the full review of this jet once the patch goes live. As always, thanks for watching.